Good afternoon. This is Nithin Ramachandra from the Nithin Sports Source Show, back with another episode. I am joined by Marvin Powell. He is a former NFL running back, and also he played for USC Trojans. One of the top, you can see right here, he's wearing his USC hat, and he has the Trojans background. So it's great to see that. But Marvin Powell is joining the show today. And first, before I bring him on, I just want to say, how's everyone doing? How was everyone's weekend? Happy Monday. We are close to the Christmas holidays, and I hope you guys are getting your gifts ready to open up here. And man, a lot of things happening, and obviously almost a new year. So I just want to bring that up. But Marvin Powell, thank you for joining the show, and I'm honored to have you on. And obviously, you have your whole family is like a football family, and a lot of history. So first, how are you and your family doing? Welcome to the show, and thank you for joining again.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Family's doing well, no doubt about it. Excited about where we are in football season. Wish the USC Trojans were in the playoffs, but it's all good. But the family's doing well, man, and excited to do your show.
Yeah, and thank you for joining. You just brought up talk about the family tree, because you have a legend that played football, Marvin Powell Sr., and he played for the Jets, and he played for the Buccaneers. And just talk about Marvin Powell Sr. first, and before we get to your career, and what was it like growing up and seeing him play football?
Right. So, my dad is actually Marvin Powell Jr. His dad is Marvin Powell Sr. But believe it or not, there are 14 Marvin Powells in my family. That's a whole other conversation, though. My dad played high school football, was an All-American at 71st High School in Fayetteville, North Carolina. From there, he went on to play for John McKay at USC from 73 through 76, winning national championships and Rose Bowls. He was a two-time All-American and the number 4 pick in the NFL draft in 1977. He went to the New York Jets, where he'd go on to play in 5 Pro Bowls, be a 4-time All-Pro, president of the NFLPA, and the Jets have already informed me that he will be in their Hall of Fame. He's currently in the College Football Hall of Fame, and this year he was down to the list of, I think, of 60 to make the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So he absolutely had a phenomenal career. Went to law school while he played in the NFL, retired from the NFL to go practice law. And then his younger brother, my uncle, Charles Johnson, also played in the NFL. My uncle Chucky, as I call him, is 7 years older than me. He played football at Auburn. He played football for Buddy Ryan with the Arizona Cardinals. And then myself, I was very fortunate to also play football at USC. And then from there, play as a rookie for Mike Ditka and the New Orleans Saints in 1999. I was an undrafted free agent who made the team. That year, we had drafted Ricky Williams, and we traded all the draft picks for Ricky Williams. So we had 1 draft pick and a bunch of free agents, and I was fortunate enough to be one of those free agents who made the team. And then from there, I spent some time with a little time with Green Bay, and also had signed a deal with Denver in 2001 that didn't work out. But yeah, that's the football family. We have a total of 6 Division I athletes on my dad's side of the family. And I have no doubt that my daughter and my son are coming next.
Yeah, so people don't confuse. So we don't confuse people. He has 14. You said 14 Marvin Powell's in your family. It's amazing. 6. Wow, that is a remarkable story right from the bat. And this for you to be part of, like I said, your father and Marvin Powell Jr. to put the accolades that he put up, and also being considered for the Hall of Fame, and also the Jets Hall of Fame. Just talk about how special is that for you and your family.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, you're talking about just an elite status, truly elite status. You know, most people don't make it to the top 1%, of their industry, and then from there to be considered, one of the greats of the 1%. You know what I'm saying? So, again, in high school he was an All-American. In college he was an All-American. Top 5 pick, number 4 pick, and then went on to, half of his career he was in the Pro Bowl. So, it was always inspiring to have somebody to look up to. It was inspiring to have somebody in the house who had such an unusual level of success. As a young man, it gives you something to aspire to. It gives you something to shoot for. You know, you understand what the standard is, and you understand what greatness is because you see it every day. I saw this guy working out like a dog. I saw him running and lifting. And at the same time, again, while he was playing in the NFL, he was also going to law school. So I saw that double hustle of just studying and just, you know, what it took to really be great. I saw what that work ethic is supposed to look like, you know, and when you're young and growing up and you're impressionable, those things, you know, they have impact. They have tremendous impact. So all the lessons, all the things that I saw from my dad that helped him, that led him to greatness, that led him to a Hall of Fame career, that led him to a first-round draft pick. You know, all these things I saw, man. And, you know, super proud to be his son, super proud to carry that family name. And really, not so much from the sports perspective, but from an ambitious perspective and just leadership. You know, I'm trying to teach my kids the same principles I saw my dad living. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, think big, dream big, plan for it. You know, because when you start planning for your success, that success becomes much more realistic. You know what I mean? So, and I saw him do that, and he preached it to me. So, yeah, man, it was inspiring. It's still inspiring. I'm still motivated and inspired by the work that he put in his short time on this earth, and I'm just grateful to be his son.
Yeah, and first, we'll dedicate the show to your father, and it's amazing what, like I said, your family tree is amazing. And for you, for you, how did you get into playing football, and what's it like for you just to continue the tradition in your family being a Division I athlete, I should say?
Yeah, you know, for me, I was the kid who was fortunate to grow up around his dad. And, you know, I wanted to be just like dad. You know, everywhere we went, dad was the man. People loved him, you know. And when I was young, you know, you understand celebrity, but you don't really get it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's one of those things where why are these people, you know, crowding around him? Why is he having to sign this? Why are people, and this is in the late 80s, early 90s, you know, before cell phones and camera phones, but there were cameras, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, why are people taking pictures with him? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a lot, you know what I'm saying? And now I realize people are attracted to greatness. People are attracted to what's different and, you know, to elite status. People are attracted, you know, to people who really are ambitious and have follow through and have the results. And he had all that, you know what I mean? So, and he was great with people. So growing up, I mean, I wanted to be just like dad. You know what I mean? Dad was the man. Dad was the hero. And I tried to do all the things that dad was doing to get to where he ended up being at. You know what I mean? So it was just inspiring, man. I was very fortunate to have somebody that was so focused on, you know, on the goal of greatness, and just I had a front row seat to see it every day. You know what I'm saying? For me, you know, going to the NFL, it wasn't a pipe dream. It wasn't because there was a guy in my house who already had done it. You know what I mean? So it was much more realistic when you see another human being doing the same, you know, ambitious thing you're trying to do. You know what I'm saying? So it was just really inspiring, man, impactful. And, you know, I've always said since I first had my first child, my daughter, Morgan, you know, I just want to have the same positive impact on my kids that my dad had on me. That's it. You know, if I can do that, then we good to go. You know what I mean? So, you know, with football, it wasn't even about carrying on the tradition. Believe it or not, my dad was an academic. He believes, you know, in the opportunity through education and academics. So that was a big thing in my house. Again, I graduated from USC, did some graduate work at Fayetteville State, went to St. Thomas Law School, even though I didn't finish. And, you know, I saw the value in what he was talking about, and I tried to pursue that same path. And believe me, for as much as I'd love for my kids to be Trojans, we're pushing the Ivy League big around here.
Wow. Yeah. So speaking of, obviously, for you, would you say you got the itch to play football, being in the locker rooms every day with your father at the home games, or when you were traveling with him? Would you say that you got the itch of playing football? And what was it like being around his teammates? So when you were growing up in the locker room?
Yeah, you know, his teammates were his friends. You know, and to me, you know, they really weren't celebrities because they were just his friends. They were his coworkers. You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of hard to explain to people who look at sports, you know, and they put it on a pedestal, which, you know, I get. But, you know, these people are just normal human beings who live normal lives. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, back in the 80s, Freeman McNeil, Al Toon, Wesley Walker. I mean, these guys were great New York Jet players that were always at our house, but it wasn't really a big deal. These were just his coworkers. So it was definitely cool having them around the house, having these guys around the house. I will admit that the only time I ever really had a starstruck moment when I was a kid hanging out with my dad's teammates was when first time I met Ken O'Brien. Ken O'Brien was a starting quarterback for the Jets in the 80s. He was drafted the same year as Dan Marino. Even though Marino got all the hype and Hall of Fame, Ken O'Brien beat Marino over a decade more times than Marino beat him. So O'Brien had a good career. He was definitely the star player. I had his jersey, and when I met him, it was a pretty special moment. But I met Gastineau, I met Klecko, I met all those guys. You know what I'm saying? And I was really young and probably too young to really appreciate the moment, to be honest with you. But again, I was so used to these guys coming to the house. And, my dad was the president of the NFLPA. So he was the president of the players union, throughout the NFL. So that added more to like why guys, needed him, wanted to talk to him, hang out with him. So these guys were at the house all the time, man. It was just normal. It was no different from your dad or your mom having friends over the house. It was that simple and plain. When they came over, they weren't celebrities. It was just people hanging out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so you were a fullback, running back, and especially with the Saints, you were a fullback and USC too. But talk about in high school, did you get to learn to play the same position that your father played in high school?
High school is a little bit different. I was more of a utility player in high school. I mean, I was all over the place. I went to Birmingham High School in Van Nuys, California, and it's in the San Fernando Valley suburb of Los Angeles. Where and I had a great high school experience. I was all conference. I was a 4-year varsity player, all city, all conference, all state twice. Made multiple All-American teams. I was twice voted the number one player in the suburb portion of Los Angeles. 2 years in a row, voted the number one player, Tom Lennings, on the West Coast at my position. And I played safety, middle linebacker, outside linebacker, fullback, tight end, quarterback. I mean, I was a true utility player. I did it all. And I'm proud to say I did it at a high level. And, I had a very fun high school experience, even though we lost the LA City Championship. But no, man, I played a bunch of positions, got recruited at a bunch of positions, offense and defense. Ultimately, I went to USC as a safety. Again, I was the number one safety on the West Coast through Tom Lemmings, number one strong safety. So USC put me as safety my freshman year. And, that year it was tough because I wasn't comfortable at the position. I was out there, guarding Keyshawn Johnson in practice on scout team, and he was destroying me in practice and just talking all kind of crazy junk. Coach Robinson, John Robinson, my head coach, in the middle of my freshman year, talked to me about going back to fullback. I played fullback in high school, played it at a high level, and enjoyed it. So I went to fullback in the middle of my freshman year and never looked back really. It was, I was a run blocking fullback at USC. I was a run blocking fullback for the New Orleans Saints. That was my thing. The fullback in itself is a dead position in the NFL. They don't even play fullbacks anymore. You know what I'm saying? They play H backs and they'll bring in another tailback but they don't even play with true fullbacks. Very few teams have that now. And at that, I was a blocking fullback. So it wasn't even like I was getting the ball. I was a sledgehammer. I was there to block for Chad Morton in college and Ricky Williams in the NFL.
Yeah, and obviously, if you look at the one fullback maybe that had I can look at is Luke. What is it? Leonard Weaver is another one we can talk about, and also it was Mike Carney, another fullback, and then you had a whole bunch of fullbacks. Yeah, he played with you, right?
No, Mike is younger than me. He played after me. Mike was an outstanding fullback for the New Orleans Saints. He played the position the way the position should be played. Big, thick guy, ran the ball, caught the ball, devastating blocker. I have much appreciation for his game.
Yeah, and for you, talk about the recruitment process for you and coming out of high school, and what made you choose USC, and what other offers did you get from other different colleges?
I was really fortunate. I started getting recruited really my sophomore year in high school. Started getting all the letters. I was going to the camps. And, pretty much every school in what was then the Pac-10 offered me. A lot of Big Ten schools. To be honest with you, I was high enough as a recruit and as a player on all these lists to where I could have gone to any school. Literally, even schools who didn't call me, who didn't send me a letter, schools who didn't offer me, I could have gone to any school. had I called any recruiting coordinator at any of these schools, let's say, Virginia Tech, Tennessee, they didn't offer me scholarships, but had I called Tennessee and spoke to their recruiting coordinator, because of where I was ranked nationally, they would have offered me a scholarship. For me, it really came down to USC and UCLA, believe it or not. I was much closer to going to UCLA than people realize, but ultimately what it came down to was USC was a school that was always in my heart.
Yeah.
And, since I was a kid, I wanted to be a Trojan. And I knew that. And the recruiting process is tough, man, because they wine you and dine you, and they get in your head, and it's just they do a great job. And I was recruited by a great recruiter, tight end coach at UCLA, Gary Bernardi, did a phenomenal job recruiting me. I don't think he realizes how close he had me to really making that decision to go across town. But no, in the end, I think the Trojan in me just went out. I knew where I wanted to be. It was the place for me to be. I'm super happy that I chose to be a USC Trojan, play for University of Southern California, and graduate from that school as well. I was looking for the best of both worlds, from academics to athletics. I was looking at opportunities outside of sports and down the line, and USC just fit the bill.
Like, just talk about the process. Obviously, you said USC started you at the safety position on freshman year. At freshman year, talk about that process and the transition for you to switch to defense in the first year of your college career.
Yeah, it was a tough process for me, just because again, in high school I was celebrated. I was I was
Yeah,
a really good player, and then they put me at safety in college, and it wasn't something that I was super familiar with. And we had some really outstanding receivers at USC, so practice was really tough for me. And I'm fortunate that the coach John Robinson, had the wherewithal to realize that you're wasting me out at safety. You put me a fullback in, and I instantly went to the number 2 fullback, which was good because I was the number 3 or 4 safety. Okay, so it was a good transition. It worked out well for me. Ultimately, fullback is what I played in the National Football League. They paid me to play that position. The truth is, I wasn't. What I realize now is there are levels to this thing. I wasn't the caliber of player that you need to play DB. You have to be a certain kind of player to play defensive back. That wasn't me. I was a good athlete, but again, those guys are special athletes. I was a hammer. You know what I'm saying? I was a battle ram. I was good. Good in that box. You know what I mean?
yeah. And so for you, obviously, you said it was a tough transition, but talk about what did you learn on the defensive side, being the safety, and obviously, it's like you're like the enforcer in the backfield, and obviously make plays. But just talk about what was it like just to learn that, to get the opportunity to learn, and having the coaches have faith in you to do that.
Yeah, I had a very good DB coach in Keith Burns, and I was with some really good players in the DB room. But I learned obviously collegiate defense, and just kind of understood the keys of how defensive players think and what they're looking for, and that was definitely beneficial for me. But at the end of the day, I was a natural offensive player. My position was better played, with my hand in the dirt, and chasing those linebackers versus trying to chase the ball carrier. So it was, it was an experience. It was a learning experience. But offense is where I needed to be.
Yeah, and once they transfer, obviously when they change you to the offense, so that must have been an easy transition for you, right?
Yeah, it was just more natural. You know what I mean? I felt more natural. Again, I was a fullback in high school. I did it at a high level. I was a receiver, runner, blocker, and I was really good. So I felt comfortable doing that and just being that battering ram, and just being able to attack. And I like blocking. My dad was an offensive lineman. I learned football from the perspective of a guy who played O line. So I have an appreciation for just being able to block and get your man out the way and put your man on the ground and, clear a path for the ball carrier. I took pride in that. You know what I'm saying? When I was in high school, when I was in college, man, I was trying to block like Tony Baselli. I was trying to put you on your back like Tony Baselli, former All-American, All-Pro, USC Trojan, Jacksonville Jaguar, Hall of Famer. For me, it was fun. It was cool. And fullback was exactly where I needed to be.
Yeah. So talk about what was it like playing for USC Trojans? Obviously, one a great football program in college football, and just talk about the passionate fans they had, and what was it like just wearing the red, yellow, every home game, and obviously let's talk about the passionate fan base you guys had too.
Yeah, so yeah, going to USC for me was a no-brainer. I mean, again, I was looking for not just a top 25 football program, but a top 25 academic program. I wanted to have a degree that carried weight, that meant something. I wanted to say that I was a Trojan and USC alumni, and I want that to mean something. So, and then again, living in Los Angeles, so that was a big deal to me. I wanted to stay home. I played high school football in LA, and I wanted to play college football in LA as well. Great weather, great fan base, great school. Our football program was number one in the country my freshman year. So, yeah, to me, it was just a no-brainer. There were a lot of other schools that recruited me heavily, great academic schools and football programs. But for me, it was always USC. I've been a Trojan since I was third, fourth grade. That's been in my heart. So, yeah, so this was a lifelong goal for me, something that was super important. And I took advantage of the opportunity when they made the offer, obviously.
Yeah, speaking of family and staying close to home and being able to have your family to come to your games, watch you play at a high level, and what was that like for you? And I want to go back to your family because most families don't have six Division I athletes in one family. So just talk about that special thing that happened for your family, and also just having your family to watch your games so close up.
Yeah, staying close to home is a big deal, man. And that's why a lot of guys choose to stay home if they
Yeah,
live in a city where there's a good program. So just having so many friends from high school and again family and just having such a base out in Los Angeles. I mean, I was always using my tickets. My tickets never went to waste. When I was in college, there was always somebody who wanted to come to a game. So that was really cool, man. And yeah, as I told you earlier, in my family, we on my dad's side of the family, we have six Division I athletes. Again, my father, obviously, I told you about my uncle Chuck, and then myself. My uncle Reggie, my dad's brother, played basketball at Syracuse, and then my dad's sister Kiki, she played basketball for Illinois, and then my brother, my younger brother, my dad's son Jackson, he played at Arizona with Gronk. Played football at Arizona for a year before he decided to go in the military. But yeah, so on my dad's side of the family, we have six Division I athletes. Growing up, a lot of trophies, at my grandmother's house, and it was something to aspire to, and something to look up to, and as a kid, that's you want that kind of motivation, that kind of inspiration. I took a lot of pride in being an athlete and being coming from an athletic family because there was a standard, there was an expectation, and I was with that.
yeah. Talk about the first game of the season when you're running out of tunnel, and how did it feel going on the USC field and knowing that this is your lifelong dream and being a USC fan from third and fourth. Just talk about the moment when you stepped out on the field.
Yeah, it was surreal. It was surreal just because again, it was a lifelong dream, and I'm out there, and I'm running on the same field as Marcus Allen, O.J.
Yeah.
Simpson. You know what I'm saying? Like Lynn Swan,
Mm-hmm.
my dad. You know what I mean? Just great college football players. So, and I'm out there, playing against Notre Dame and
Yeah.
UCLA, and we're playing in the Rose Bowl. We're the number one team in the nation. I mean, when you're at USC, you're aware of the history. You're well aware of the history. You know the men that came before you. You know the standard. You know what's expected, and the standard is a standard. So for me, it was just proud to put. I was proud to put that uniform on. I was proud to be a Trojan and to represent this great university. It meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me. I was very aware in the moment of what it was. And even now, I'm very proud that I made that decision and chose to go to USC and get that degree and play with all the outstanding student athletes and football players that I played with.
Okay. Yeah, and talk about some of your best moments at USC, your best games that you played, and obviously competing for the bowl games like the Rose Bowl game and trying to get to the championship. Just talk about some of your best moments at USC.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, my senior year was pretty special to me just because it was the best year of my career.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I went into the season injured, not knowing, what my status was going to be. And by the end of the year, I was one of the best fullbacks in college football. I want to say I was ranked as high as number 3 in the nation going into the draft. Had some really good games against UCLA and Oregon and Washington State. As a fullback, you pride yourself on violence. You pride yourself on putting the man on the ground. And I had a couple games there where I was doing that at a very high level. And ultimately, I put together enough tape to entice the NFL. And I was fortunate that, though I didn't get drafted, I had like 12 teams. Half the NFL wanted to offer me a contract. So that meant a lot to me, man, because I went into that draft process not knowing what kind of opportunity I was going to have. I felt confident that I'd have a chance to get into an NFL camp because there was interest. I was getting interest. But you never know. You never know. And then on draft day, when the draft ended, and these teams are calling free agents to undrafted players, my phone was blowing up. Blowing up, and it blew my mind that I had so many teams. I'm looking at the caller ID, the New York Jets, the Chargers, the Niners, the Cowboys, the Packers. It was just I felt like the number one draft pick as a free agent. You know what I'm saying? It was such a special moment for me. But yeah, man, we my freshman year, we had won the Rose Bowl. I didn't play much. Keyshawn Johnson was our star player. He ended up being the number one player, and the number one draft pick that year. He was an outstanding player for us. Winning the Rose Bowl was great. And then my senior year, we definitely underperformed. We won 8 games, went to a bowl game. That didn't work out. But, for my senior year, we put out 12 guys in the NFL, which is a good thing. But it also means that we kind of underachieved because we only won 8 games that year.
Yeah. So talk about speaking of the draft, and obviously the player's goal to get drafted. But in your situation, how tough is it for you not to get drafted? But in the same thing that your phone, like you said, your phone was blowing up, and you got a lot of teams interested in. Obviously, the Jets were interested in you too. Let's talk about the process of that and what made you choose the Saints.
Yeah, so really what it came down to is it wasn't even that they had offered me the most money in regards to a signing bonus, but it wasn't even that. My agent, Frank Bauer of Somewhat Sports, he felt that the Saints had the highest appreciation for me, had the greatest need for me, and that Ditka, really wanted me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They made it very personal for me, and and I felt that. My agent felt that, and my agent was right. And the Saints were very, they were real because they kept me. I had a really good training camp. I did. I got hurt in training camp, but those first 3 games, I was balling, man. I was knocking people back, being physical, being violent, doing the things I needed to do to make the team. So camp went really well for me. I think USC prepared me for that. And I think all the conversations with my dad growing up also kicked in and prepared me for that. So, yeah, that went well. And the Saints were definitely the good choice. Ironically, the team who also wanted me the most, along with the Saints, was the Packers. And they ended up trading for me my second year. I got injured, so that didn't work out. But it was cool, man. Listen, New Orleans was a great place. I met my wife in New Orleans. She was a graduate student at Tulane. I met her in the French Quarter. We've been together now 25 years, more than half of my life. We got 2 beautiful children. And, going to New Orleans was everything because I accomplished the football goal there, and I met my wife. So it's a very special place for me. And, I'm happy that I chose the Saints.
Yeah, and that's always fun to hear when athletes end up meeting their spouses while playing or in a certain city, and that's amazing. And for you, being part of the Saints and learning from Mike Ditka, one of the legendary coaches to coach in the NFL, obviously, and just talk about that moment when you had the conversations with Coach Mike, and the first team when you were officially joined the team. Just talk about the conversations, what he and what was it like just learning from him?
Yeah, Ditka is exactly what you see on TV. That's how he was. What you saw on camera wasn't an act. That's who he is in every way. So he's straight up, he's direct, he has a big heart, he loves football, he can be very aggressive, and you see all that on TV. And he's funny. He has a good sense of humor. You know what I'm saying? So for me, he was such a football legend that when I would see him, I was kind of in awe. You know what I'm saying? Just because he's as a player, he's a Hall of Famer, and as a coach, he's a Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a big football guy, so I have tremendous admiration for people who've excelled in this industry, and he's done it in multiple ways, man. He is a legend. He's a walking legend. So I was honored that he wanted me to be on his team. I was honored that he kept me. We had a few conversations privately, not a ton, but we had a few that I look back on, and I'm very happy about those conversations and how they went. Some of them at least, because he was straight up, man. When he gave you a compliment, he meant it. So getting a compliment from Mike Ditka was a big deal. You know what I'm saying? And I remember one day he said to me, he says, "Marvin," he goes, "You're going to be a good player." And he goes, "No, no, you are a good player, right?"
Yeah.
And I felt so good that he corrected himself, and identified me as a good player and said it to me. For as much, excuse me, for as much as I know he was trying to inspire me, I believe him that he thought I was a good player. You know what I'm saying? Because again, I had a good training camp and I had some really good moments there. So it was awesome playing for a legend like Dickon, man. I wouldn't have it any other way. He was tough, but that's how I like it. He was straight up. That's how I like it. He loved to run the ball, which is how I like it. He had an old school offensive mentality. This is before the spread. This is before the quarterback took all the snaps from shotgun. So we had a real I formation. We had a a pretty good old line, and it was awesome and iconic being in New Orleans with Ditka.
Yeah, speaking of New Orleans, I was in New Orleans actually this year for Super Bowl week when they had all the Super Bowl with the Eagles and Chiefs, and I was there for Radio Row, and I was able to connect with Ricky Williams there at Super Bowl week. I met him over there, and talk about what it was like being Ricky Williams' teammate. And do you have any like funny stories that you can share with Ricky Williams?
Rick is cool. I met Rick in high school. I met him in high school. We actually went on a recruiting trip together to Cal Berkeley. It was me, Ricky Williams, and Lawrence Larry. And we spent the weekend up in Berkeley, had a good time. He was, kind of quiet, cool. And then I saw him 4 years later in New Orleans Saints rookie camp or training camp. You know what I'm saying? And it was pretty cool. Rick is a good dude, man. He's what you see on TV. He's as advertised. He's quiet to himself. Really bright guy. If you get him talking, there's a lot to say. But great sense of humor. Good dude. We used to hang out, play video games. We hung out before at the House of Blues in New Orleans when we were players. So when we were together, we had a good relationship. Definitely healthy relationship. We were two California boys living in New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? So two Southern California boys at that, living in New Orleans. So we had that in common. But yeah, Rick was cool, man. Good dude, straight up, hell of an athlete.
Yeah, here's I'll show you a picture of when I was with him in New Orleans.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
good dude. Yeah.
yeah. So for you, talk about obviously transitioning from your NFL playing career and now teaching your kids the same lifestyle that you grew up and with your father, and just talk about relaying that to your kids, and obviously being a family person yourself, and just talk about the your this generation now, which includes your kids.
Yeah, man. So obviously, as dad and husband, you had the responsibility to get these kids on the right path. For my dad, it was all about leadership. If I look at the theme of my childhood and the theme of his parental approach, it was leadership. That's what really he tried to impress upon me. And within that, just be ambitious and go for your goal. Go for set goals and go for them. Don't be afraid to think big. Monitor and be careful of how you deal with people, how you treat people. And I've tried to take that same message and just, put it on my kids, man. And I think it's going pretty well at this point. Leadership is definitely a theme in this house. It's a word they hear all the time. And we discuss all the things that come under the umbrella of leadership. You know what I mean? So, it's going well, man. I'm very happy with my kids and where they are in their process and their development. I have a daughter in the 8th grade who's a student athlete. She has Ivy League ambitions, and I think for her it's realistic. My son wants to be the next Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant. He's really a two-sport athlete. Basketball's been his main thing. But I think that his goals, are realistic. They both are AB students, so they take care of the classroom, and
Oh, that's awesome.
ultimately, that's first and foremost. That's not even, that's before, before the iPad, before sports. It's all about academics. So that goes without saying in the household. But no, the kids are doing great. I'm fortunate. I married an outstanding woman.
Yeah,
You gotta know how to pick them. You know what I'm saying? And I got a good one, and she does a great job as wife / mommy. And that's all. It all adds up to be a part of it, man. So yeah, together, man, we trying to get these kids right, keep them on the path. Because before you know it, they're gonna be out the house. You know what I'm saying? And you want to put out good people in the world. You know what I mean?
yeah. I know. I know you guys are focused on Ivy schools, but can we see a seventh Division One athlete in your family?
Yeah, well, yeah, seventh and eighth. My
No,
son and
seventh
my
and eighth.
daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my daughter wants to play volleyball at Columbia,
Oh
and then
wow.
my son. I think you know I believe he's only in the fourth grade, but when I look at his development and where he's at, I tell my wife all the time, he's way ahead of me where I was, and
Hmm.
I would be shocked if he didn't end up just living out his dreams.
Well, yeah, looking for. I can't wait to see that happen with your family, because it's like this is truly remarkable what I'm hearing, and I love all the family generations going down the line like a family tree, and to see that, and to see your kids being athletes, also working hard on their dreams. But like you said, the main thing is academics. You
Yeah,
can't go anywhere without academics, and
100%.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that's what people. But in this generation, obviously, there's a lot of resources that kids can use. But when you guys were playing back in the day, you didn't really have those resources. So, and that's why academics. You always have to instill academics to these kids now.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, so let's transition for real quick to this college football playoffs and NFL season. And I know you've been watching the college football players and playoffs, and USC is I think they'll get back there soon. And but just talk about this year's playoffs and the expansion teams now.
Yeah, this year's playoffs have already started. We've had, I don't know, we've had great games, to be honest with you. I think, well, the game was good. The A&M game was good. But that Tulane game, the JMU game, it's such a joke to have. Look, I understand you want to give the small guy a chance. I get that. But in a world of big dogs, if you ain't a big dog,
Yeah,
you shouldn't be at the table. That's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not impressed with Tulane and JMU going 11-1, 10-2. That doesn't impress me. Because of who they beat or who they didn't beat. The gauntlet for them is cake. It's easy. Right now, I think Indiana's that team. I think my two favorite teams right now that I'm not a betting man that I would be putting money on if I was anybody, it would be Oregon and Indiana. I think they are the real deal. No disrespect to Ohio State. Looked tough out there. They got a squad for real. But after watching the Oregon Ducks play my Trojans and beat them the way they did, and it wasn't a blowout win, but they look good. They look good up front, man. They look good in the ways in the areas that you want to see championship teams look. I think this may be the year for the Oregon Ducks, man. I hate to say it, but I
wow.
believe that. I do.
So you think they have a chance to win it all?
I do. I do. I think Dan Lanning's done a phenomenal job at Oregon. He got that Nike money. He has that Phil Knight
Yeah.
money. They've been getting recruits for years. They've been getting recruits for years. Now that they're stacking their depth. And they getting that D line right. You got offensive linemen. Quarterback's going to be top 2 pick in the draft. They have all kind of explosion at running back, tight end,
Mhm.
receiver. Oregon's the real deal. They're the team that you do not want to face. Of all the teams out there, no offense to Ohio State,
Yeah.
Oregon's that team that really has dogs out there. So I'm expecting them to make a serious run this year.
Yeah, put aside Alabama and Ohio State and all. Do you think? What about like Indiana, like with Mendoza? Do you like them
Yeah,
as a team?
so I saw Mendoza for the first time. Like, I haven't, I know they've been on a 2-year deal here, a 2-year run, but the
Yeah.
first time I really watched him was against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, and boy, did he look good. He looked real good. So now I understand the hype, and I understand why they're putting him as a number 1 quarterback, potentially, top pick. Athletic, he has an arm, he's accurate. The most important thing, that kid is tough. That kid is tough. So yeah, I like him a lot, man. I do. As I said, Indiana and Oregon are my 2 teams I'm
Yeah.
looking at. Mendoza is going to be a good pro, and I'm hoping that my Jets pick him up.
Mm. That's a big question right there. Jets need a quarterback, and whether or not they will get the number 1 pick. That's gonna be interesting to see, because I think Mendoza is that type of franchise quarterback, can change a franchise in a heartbeat. And speaking of the NFL, talk about the season so far. Crazy, it's already crazy. That's almost down to the wire. Almost the end of the season, and playoff time is coming. This is how fast the football season goes, even with college football. But let's talk about what are your thoughts on some of these teams in the NFL going down to the wire, and especially the NFC East and AFC East with the Patriots now doing better from last year.
Yeah, Patriots are tough, man. Vrabel, Drake May. I mean, listen, in the NFL, leadership matters. So you got to have a head coach and you got to have a quarterback. If you don't have a quarterback in the NFL, you're just not going to compete at a certain level consistently. This is not going to happen. The quarterback play is so high and so good that you have to have someone who can rival another guy's quarterback, whether it's Mahomes or Josh Allen. We're talking about Drake May, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert. I mean, these guys are the real deal. So I'm excited for this year's playoffs. I think you got a few teams going to try and make a run. Philly's still Philly. At the end of the day, they are. They got to get their O-line back. It's unfortunate, people who got hooked on watching Pat Mahomes play every postseason. That's no more. That's done. They didn't snap that streak. But no, right now in the NFC, I'm still thinking it goes through Philly. I really believe that. I think it still goes through Philly. I think Philly's tough, man. I think Jalen Hurts is really he's underrated, I don't think he gets the respect that he deserves. And I'm one of those guys that was hard on him. I was one of the guys who was really hard on him, but all he does is win. That's all he does is win. In every he wins, and he wins. Whether he's running, whether he's throwing, whether he's handing it off, he wins. In the AFC is probably wide open, man. Right now, you got to say, even though they took that L yesterday, the Broncos right now are the team you have to look at. I don't know if Buffalo has enough weapons. I think Josh Allen's the real deal, but I don't think they have enough weapons. And then with the Patriots, I think it's good that they'll go to the playoffs. I think it's good that Drake May will get some playoff experience. But right now, I'm looking at Eagles, and I'm looking at Broncos.
Wow,
those are the teams that I'm looking at.
What about a team like the Rams?
Rams are the real deal. Rams are the real deal. Listen, that combination of Stafford and McVay is real. And listen, I don't care how old he is, man. Stafford's playing like he's a young pup, man. He has energy and accuracy, and he looks good out there, right? He started the season out injured. It was back issues, whatever it may be. You didn't kind of know what was going on with that. Man, he's balling right now. That's good. They're going to be a tough out. They're going to be a very tough out. I know the Eagles and the Rams have just played, but it's going to be, when you get into the playoffs in the postseason, it's going to be hard to beat the Eagles. But them Rams are the real deal, man. Stafford, he has, listen, between Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, I mean, they got weapons out there, and he's a quarterback who can get it done. So very happy to see them, very excited to see them. I'm a Jet fan, I'm a Saints fan, but I'm a football fan. So I have an appreciation for all these teams and just good football.
Yeah, and speaking of the Rams and all, and obviously Detroit, you could put Detroit in there too. So obviously all these other teams that are trying to fight for the playoffs, it's going to be crazy going down to the wire. And but for you, two things before I let you go, Marvin. First, what was your thoughts when you saw Phillip Rivers come out of retirement at age 44, and they call it the grandfather? Now come back with the Colts. Obviously, they needed a quarterback, and I feel bad for that team because that was another team that was up here when before Daniel Jones got hurt, and they were Super Bowl contenders, and now we don't know what they are. But just talk about what was your thoughts on that, and also before we let you go, would you like to promote anything on your side? What's coming next for you guys?
Yeah, so when I saw Phillip Rivers, on one hand, I was happy for him because I like Phil. I always thought he represented the league well, represented himself well. I thought he was a great ambassador for the NFL. I've always had respect for Phillip Rivers, who I believe is going to be a Hall of Famer. He should be a Hall of Famer. I was worried for him. The NFL is a violent game. It is a grown man's game, okay? It's also a young man's game. The guy's 44. The age wasn't really my issue. He's been at home chilling for 5 years. Yeah. You don't just come off the couch after 5 years and go play quarterback. Do you realize that in football, every single defense is designed to do one thing for sure. That is attack the quarterback, okay? When he played, he was one of the least mobile guys, of all the quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, 5 years after his retirement, at age 44, he played okay in the last game. They lost, which really is the bottom line. But it was you can't say they lost because of him. With that said, they got to figure out how to get the ball down the field. The dinks and the dunks and the little things to tight end, that's you can't win like that moving forward. So on Monday night, tonight against these Niners, I'm expecting to see them try to stretch the field. If they can't stretch the field with Phillip Rivers, they're done. They're done. It's a bit too much pressure on Jonathan Taylor, and he needs Jonathan Taylor to take some pressure off of him. So listen, I'm rooting for Phil. I like Phil. I love to see it. I love to see it. I would, the one thing is this that people aren't talking about. It wouldn't shock me to see other players look at Phil, take some time off, and take a year off, take 2 years off, and come back. You know what I'm saying? Like, that wouldn't shock me because the human body wasn't made for NFL football. Your body needs to recover. Sometimes those off seasons aren't enough. You know what I mean? So I can see a guy taking some time off and coming back now. But for Phil, man, more power to him. I'm praying for that brother. I'm still afraid of him taking that hit. He got pushed around a little bit last game. He went to the ground and all that. He felt contact, but still, man, it's just I still cross my fingers when I watch him drop back, when I see him get ready to throw, because I don't want something to happen to him. In regards to me, man, listen, you can catch me on social media, Marvin Powell III, Marvin on the mic. You can catch me 5 days a week with the South Florida Tribune. You can find me twice a week on Locked On USC. And I'm just looking forward to really just expanding and getting into this media space. Very thankful that you gave me an opportunity to come out here. I apologize for all the background noise we had earlier.
No, you're good.
And listen, as we go through these playoffs, college and pro, I look forward to being a guest on your show again.
Yes. Definitely, we'll get you back, and also vice versa. I would love to help you out with your stuff. And speaking of the South Florida Tribune and all, just talk about your shows real quick, your platforms, and what's it like to have that? Obviously, after your playing career, most players have their own podcasts or they work on other things, and for you to have that two platforms especially Locked On USC and then the other platform that you have.
Yeah, Locked On is the biggest sports podcast in America or in the world. And, I've been very fortunate. Mark Colkin, who leads that, who's done a phenomenal job, has allowed me to be a guest on his show twice a week, pretty much throughout the entire football season. And that's a relationship that I'm trying to grow and just expand on because, for me, just getting into the space, having an opportunity to be on these bigger platforms. Listen, I'm with the South Florida Tribune. We just hit 1 million views. Wow. That's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? So to be a part of that, to be on that team, and I wasn't with them from the beginning. I've been with them now probably the last 2 or 3 months, but it's gone really well. We're doing a lot of shows together. I got a lot more shows coming with the South Florida Tribune. Scott Morganroth is one of my mentors in this space. He's been doing this for over 45 years, and I'm just grateful and I'm thankful that the people at the South Florida Tribune and then Mark Colkin with Locked On have allowed me to share their space.
Wow, there you have it. Man, what a special episode this was. Marvin Powell III, former Saints, USC football player, and obviously his father was a legend, played for the New York Jets, 5-time Pro Bowler. We got to get him into the Hall of Fame, and hopefully and he's in the Jets Hall of Fame. So, man, what a family here, and 6 Division I athletes, hopefully 8 pretty soon in the future. But Marvin, thank you for joining. Let's stay connected, obviously, and we'll talk about more of the playoffs. And you're gonna like this. I have a Nick Mangold shirt.
I love it.
Jets.
I love
Rest it. Nick Mangold. And but this oh yeah, he was a great player too, and obviously coming from the offensive line group. But we'll dedicate the show to your father also. And man, he right now he's proud of you of what you're doing, and obviously with the career and all, and now being a father yourself and being a family man and a lot of like I said, a remarkable family here, a remarkable story. Thank you for joining. This has been awesome to learn more about you guys.
Hey man, I appreciate everything you just said. The next time we do this, I won't have the gardeners here. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
do this out of my garage typically,
wow.
Which is fine. But today, I chose a time with you at noon here where the gardeners showed up, and now I'm in the kitchen. So
Yeah, and I want to see that USC Trojan background. That's awesome. So
yeah, right on. All right, man. I appreciate you.